My name is David T. Jones. I have three children, oldest son Lamar, and two twins, Yamin and Jibri. Well, for me, it was interesting because my wife and I were like kind of fooling around. We weren't really into it. Um, we were high school sweethearts, so um, I was in I was at Howard, um, and she was here in Philly, and so she would come down and visit me sometime. So we mess around, but we didn't really do this. What we thought we didn't do the deed, more or less. So when she went to the doctor, she was having some stomach problems and stuff. The doctor thought she had gas. Actually, didn't think that she was pregnant. So then we got to the point where she found out she was pregnant. It was that for me was like, wow, this is crazy. I can't believe this. And then piled on top of that, she was pregnant with twins. So, whoa, it's no twins in my family that I was aware of at the time. So I was like, oh, I'm having twins. So now I was already on cloud nine. Now you tell me I'm having twins. I done bopped up. So I'm like, wow. But she ended up losing one, right? Um, but I was just so ecstatic about being a parent. And so her thing was, yeah, but you're going to go ahead and stay in school. And I was in D.C. and I was like, no, I'm coming to Philly. I'll get in school in Philly, but I'm coming back because I'm not going to have, when I come home to pick up my child, he going to cry because he don't know who I am. So that's not going to happen. So this is not up for conversation. So that's kind of where I was. I was just ecstatic when I found out.
Did you make the move back to Philly?
I came back to Philly, yeah.
How important was that to you to make sure that you were not just a father, but a father that was present?
That was so important to me because my dad was in and out of my life. And so I wasn't going to be there for my kids. So it was like, whatever I got to do, I got to do. If that means come out of school, get a job, sweep the floor, I was going to be there for my kids. So.
And what was that transition like, being in college, finding out you're pregnant, moving back to, I guess, where you were coming from? What was that like? And how much did knowing that you were going to be there for your kid get you through all of that?
It was the motivator. So the focus then became, I got to be there for them, and I got to do whatever I got to do to make that happen. So when I came back, I said, I'm going to go to school. I'm trying to finish it up, but at the same time, we got bills and stuff got to get paid, so I got to get a job. So it's working and school at the same time. People saying, oh, that's real hard. It's going to be real difficult for you to do that. I was like, it's not an option. It's not like I don't have an option where I can just go to school. But at the same time, I didn't feel as though I was doing right by my family by just leaving school to the side and just working, because I had things I want to do for my family, ways I want to treat my family, my wife and my kids and stuff. So I knew there's a certain amount of money I would make if I graduated college, in addition to, working. So I was trying to juggle both of them, but as things went on, for me, the financial pressures became so much that the school just got pushed to the side, to lower and lower.
Let me ask you, there's numerous men expecting fathers in the same situation, whether it be school or giving us something that they love. What is something that you would like to tell them as advice? What's some advice you would like to give them? But also, what is something you would tell them that you regretted that you didn't do? That maybe you, if given another chance, I might have did that differently and been able to kind of keep both of them.
Right. The most important thing is that the children are precious, and you got to make them a priority. They got to be a number one priority. Any and everything else got to go to the side. The children have to be a priority. So all your decisions now have to take them into consideration. So whether you want to or not, whether you think you should or not, you need to incorporate just your whole mindset of changing from that selfishness, or even from the thing where you're thinking about me and my wife or me and my girl or whatever. You have to now, me, my wife, or me, my girlfriend, and the children. all the children have to be included in your thought process now. So in terms of things that I would do differently, clearly I still haven't got my degree to this point. I'm thinking about going back to school. I'm trying to go back to school. I'm trying to do it. If I was to do anything different, when I came, even though it was tough, I would have struggled and got that degree. So that's the one thing that I personally would have done differently.
You mentioned that your father was in and out of your life.
Right.
How did the relationship that you had with your father affect the way that you raised your kids?
I think me and my dad had a pretty good relationship. And one of the things that I liked most about our relationship was the fun that we had. So I incorporated that with my kids so that we had fun together. So I do the disciplinarian. I don't mind being the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy and do what I need to do, but I like to have fun with them. So we do things. I'm into amusement parks and different things like that. So we do the roller coaster rides, all of the stuff. We having fun. We doing this. Let's do it. Let's have fun together.
Let me ask you something on that fun part with your kids. Sometimes it's perception that we have to spend money to have fun with our kids and do something. What's an activity or event that you and your kids attended together or did together that cost you basically nothing, that they enjoy just as much as any trip to an amusement park or something like that?
That's easy. My kids, a lot of times I become the father of the block type thing. So when I do things with my kids, I wouldn't just do things for my kids. I might grab their friends. So one of the things that we used to do is we would take our kids, and my wife would be a part of it too, but we take the kids and we take them to the Salvation Army, which wasn't too far. It was like an open field for us. And we might play something like tag. Everybody, just a big group tag. And we out there running around with the kids. We was having fun. That just cost no money. None at all. But the thing it was, the kids loved it. The neighborhood kids loved it. Our kids loved it. They'll talk to you about it today. If we talk about when we used to go to the Salvation Army, did y'all have fun? Oh, man, we had a ball. And like I said, we would walk through the neighborhood. People would be like, all those your kids? I was like, no, they not all my kids. But, you know, we just had so much fun. And it was just like a Pied Piper thing. We'd be walking. Kids would just be joining. We'd just be joining the group and just go with us and have fun. And so that was one of the things that we would do, just little activities that we do. And we had a ball doing it, and they enjoyed it too.
How has fatherhood changed you as a man?
It's made me less selfish. It made me think about my children and my wife in terms of decisions that I make, in terms of things that I want to do. I wouldn't think about just how it would impact me. How's it going to impact them? What impact is it going to have on their lives and the way they lead their lives? And I try to make what I say match up with what I do. And so I try to really be consistent with that for them. And I do find myself making some changes that are difficult in terms of just something naturally, like glancing at a female going by. I'm going to handle that whole situation differently. It'll just be a glance if I'm with my kids. Now, somebody else, I might look a little longer, but now with my kids, it's just a glance because I'm respectful. You know, that, what are you doing? I'm telling mom, so my kids wasn't having it. So it'd just be a glance and I, keep it moving. So, yeah. And that's interesting because it's been a transition, because when we had our first son, I was doing things that a man does with his son in terms of correcting him, telling him to do different things, and she was having her input, and she was struggling, and I'm struggling with her. Look, this is the way I got to do this. Her dad wasn't really in her life, so her dad was in and out of her life, might I say. And so she didn't really have, her mother was the strong role model in her life. And females on her line was running things. And so now there's a man here. I'm a man. I'm saying this is the way this needs to be done. He need to be handled this way. This boy kicked his butt. He need to go back outside and fight. He don't need to be in the house crying about it. You need to be outside. That's it. You're not going to be running from it. You got to handle it. As simple as that. And so how I'm saying that the transition happened, because she felt as though she had too much battle with me on that. So when the twins came in, she said, I'm going to let you do it because I see what happens when I'm too much involved. So I'm going to let you handle it. So what happens was she called herself pulling off, But in reality, she did better with the first son than my second son. Because my youngest son now, she was like always talking in his defense and, oh, don't be so hard on him, don't be this, so this. So now my oldest son said, he didn't get half the whoopings that I got. You let him get away with all this, that, and other. And so the other thing is my youngest son didn't have as much mouth and wasn't. So my youngest son, he wouldn't say too much. He waited till he got a teenager to really get out of control. My oldest son, he was from the door. He was knocking stuff down. He was doing quick. We had to beat him. He would do stuff. I'd go to his classroom. He was having so many classes. I was like, if you keep it up, I'm going to come sit in your classroom with you. He would keep it up, so I would come sit in the class. So I'm sitting in this classroom. He can really smack this kid in the back. I was like, do you see me sitting here? You're not really going to smack the kid in the head, and I'm sitting there. He's like, what? I was like, what do you mean, what? Right. So I think there was some involvement in there where she realized she had too much input in some areas, and so she tried to pull back. So she tried to make some adjustments. And since my father was in and out, it was for me, it was a learning process too. I was learning how to be a dad on my own. There wasn't nobody that I could really look to and say, well, this is how my dad handled it, so this is how I'm going to handle it. It's like, this is what I think, this is the way I think this should happen.
Let me ask you, who were some of the men in your life that you looked to as a father figure, or maybe as even somebody, they might not even know, I want to be like Mr. Johnson is for his family, or Mr. So-and-so. Who were those guys in your
life? In most instances, it happened to be like an uncle. I had an uncle who I'm named after. His name was David. But he was an alcoholic, so I kind of had to, even though he was in his children's life and he was parenting me, and then I had another uncle, Jerry, who has since passed away. He was there for his kids. So those are kind of some of my uncles that I looked to kind of be those role models in my life, to kind of, even though they had their own struggles and their own issues, they were still there for their family. Right. So even though it might not work out, me and the wife argue, him and his wife, me and my aunts would argue and stuff, but they was hanging in there. What I saw them fight through all of that and still stay there for their kids. So.
Have your kids ever given you, especially because they're older in their 20s now, had there been a moment where you just sat back and smiled and said, he got it, or she got
it? Yeah. I like that my youngest son kind of takes up what I used to do in terms of taking some of the kids around to different things. And my oldest son, get ready to get married, get ready to have his first child, get ready to make us our first, as you know, I'm going to be a grandfather in April. And so some of his interactions with his mate, and I can see some of the way he's doing things for her, and I can say, okay, I see him opening the door, car door for her, opening the door for her, letting her sit down, make sure she's comfortable and stuff like that. So I see that some of the stuff that I was doing for his mother, he saw me model that. Not so much tell him this is what you should do when you get yours, but I'm just doing it. Mm-hmm. So by him seeing me do it, he saw this is how a man's supposed to treat a woman, and I see him doing that.
Did you ever realize, or if you did, how important it was that you were the man that your daughter were going to base all other men off of?
You know, I didn't realize that till much later. Much later. I think maybe a pastor in our church was kind of talking about that and brought that, and I never really thought about her looking at me in terms of patterning other men, even though then we had conversations with her. And I didn't know that these were standards she was holding them to. Like, she'd sit in the car and wait for him to open the door. Or she'd go to the car door and stand there. He's already on the other side. Open his door. He's like, well, get in the car. She was like, no, come open the door. So she was making them kind of do some of the stuff that I would do, she would see me do for her mother. And so that's when it kind of clicked in that, okay, so she did pick up some stuff, and she is holding those cats to that type of standard.
And though you didn't know it, I assumed it was important that you were treating her mother a certain way so she could realize how she should be treated.
Absolutely. It was real important because there was domestic abuse in my family. Like, my mom would be beat by people she dealt with, my sister, my aunts. I had aunts that had domestic abuse situations. So I definitely wanted to show that there was definitely just not the way that's going to happen, you know. So
what? You often hear guys say who didn't grow up with a father say, I never wanted to be like that. I never wanted my kids to go through that. Is this something that you can point to that you just refuse that you would never want your kids to go through that you went through because your father wasn't there, that motivated you to be there more than anything else?
I think when I play sports, nobody was in the stands with me, and so I went out of my way to make sure if I had to take off from work, if I be honest, if I have to call out sick, I've even lied and called sick just so, or fake sickness at the job so I could leave early, get to my son's football game. Because I wanted him, when he's in there, when he turns around, he know his dad is in the stands. He hear me hollering or talking to his coach about, yo, throw him the ball, you know, give him some play or whatever. So he know that I'm there. I touch base from the beginning of the game, during the game, letting them know I'm here for you. So whether you have a good game or a bad game, he knows I'm in the stand. He knows if the whole stadium's against him, he know he got one person in that stand that's cheering for him. And so that meant so much to me. Like when my wife used to come to games for me, it just made so much different if somebody's in the stand that loves and cares for you. That makes a whole difference whether you're having a good game or a bad game. You know somebody's there for you.
There's a father who's going to see this, who's experienced a selfishness of not wanting to go. The game is the same time as I'm supposed to be hanging out with the boys, or I gotta go make this money. The game is doing work. I'm not taking off of work. What would you tell that father from the kid's perspective who didn't have a parent there? How important it is to be there just for a game, just for a talent show, wherever it is. Why is it so important that you are there to support your kids? Or why is it important that fathers should be there to support their kids?
Because that spills over. When they see that you are taking time out of your schedule for them and their schedule, they see that they're a priority in your life. You're not just telling them, I love you and you're a priority. You're showing them. And that's critical that you show them that they're a priority in your life so that when you go to that game and they look at the stand and they see you, or they look out in the audience and they see you, or you're waving, or they got pictures of them, of y'all being together, that means so much more than if you buy them an outfit. You might pay for them to play in the game. You might pay for their uniform. But I think I've heard somebody else, nobody remembers that. What they remember, Dad was there. When I broke the record, or when I got this award, Dad was there. He was there for me. And that's priceless. You can't put money, you can't put no value, no monetary value on that relationship and that connection. They say people remember a lot, but they remember most how you make them feel. And being at somebody's game in your children's life, like I said, it could be a game, it could be a talent show, it could be whatever kind of event, whatever. That means so much more to a child than anything that you could ever give them. That all men kind of think of it the same way. That, you know, that it's not really a big deal. And I think some of us really know that it's a big deal. And so we'll invest that time and effort and pain. Because sometimes you don't even understand what a father's sacrifice have to go through to still be a father and stay in the lives of the kids. And so even though me and my wife are happily married, we've been through our things, you know, and we had our head bumps and stuff. But to understand that irregardless of all of that, or regardless of all of that, that it's so important to stay together as a family unit because it means so much more to the children for you to stay together, for them to be successful in whatever they're going to do with their lives. So
now, is that something you thought about as you went through your complications with your wife? Is it something that kind of helped, that kept you in the home?
Well, part of it, the other part of it was like, gave me a different respect for my dad, because I wasn't completely angry and bitter at my dad. I was resentful of the fact that he didn't stay there. But as I became a dad, I can understand how dads roll a while. Because before I couldn't understand it. How could you leave your kids? I'm your kid. I'm your seed. How could you leave me? How could you not be there for me? But after all of the stuff the father's got to go through, you catching it at work, you come home, you catching it at home. It seems like sometimes the kids don't appreciate it, the wife don't appreciate it. So it's like you ain't getting appreciation from no level, nowhere. So for the fathers that stick through it, you be like, why are these cats staying in it? I think that the only reason, for me anyway, is that God's influence in my life kept me there. Because if it had been just on me, y'all can have this. I'll send you a check. I write you a check once a month and you do your thing. Since I got to fight with the wife and the kids, come on, you're supposed to be on my side. I can see y'all fighting the kids. They don't know no better. You're supposed to be on my side. And I'm fighting with you about raising our kids.
Where did you find your, where did you find your understanding of the situation that made you, as hard as it was, and I do want to leave, I understand my father, but I'm not regardless. What?
Because of the pain that I felt on those times when I needed him to be there, he wasn't. Like those spectacular. I mean, not spectacular, but those milestone moments like graduation. My dad was at none of my graduations. When I got married, he wasn't there at my wedding. He had, didn't get to meet my wife. Never got to meet my children. So when you remove yourself from the picture, you don't know how much you're removing yourself from all of these events. You don't even take into consideration. So I was like, I'm going to be there. Whatever it takes, whatever the beating up, me and the wife got to go through whatever. We got to go to counseling, whatever we got to do. We're going to work this out. Because I was serious about that till death do us part. And so even if it was difficult, uncomfortable, I ain't like it, or the grass looked green on the other side, whatever it is, I'm staying here because this is the most important thing that I'm involved in.
That's real powerful. With that being said, how are you looking? What is becoming a grandfather? What is that feeling like?
That's like having a second chance of doing some things that I like to do differently. There were some things that I wish I had to do with my children that I mentally was not mature enough to even think about doing them, or wasn't in a position financially to do them, or for a whole myriad of reasons that I didn't do some things that I really think should have been done, like some introductions of music in their life to see if they have music talents, do different instruments, let them try to play different instruments, different things I like to expose them to that my kids never got a chance. Like, I hear people saying they hated piano lessons and they never wanted to play the piano and they hated these. But those musical lessons and things, there's things just through the process that they learn. Even if they never take up piano, just the fact that they went through it and had to go through those drills and that discipline, all of that stuff helps them later on. And I didn't see the value in that. We would try to play to some of the things they liked, some of the things they wanted to do. We tried to, encourage them. And I wouldn't say we held them back from anything except my daughter has this big bad story about gymnastics, but I just was against gymnastics because I know my daughter's like me, competitive. So when I thought about gymnastics, I thought about the whole ball of wax. I thought about Olympics. So when I think Olympics, they got to go live with some other family. No, nobody is raising my daughter. And so my wife and her didn't see it that way. They just said, oh, she just want to play gymnastics. No. She's like me. When she gets in it, she's in it to win it. She's not just in it to play. She wants to be better than everybody else. How do you be better than everybody else? How do you really compete with those other kids? You go live with these families off on a ranch somewhere. No, somebody else is from another cultural perspective is not raising my children because they don't have the same values that I have. So
your son is about to become a father.
Yes. Yeah.
What if it's only one piece of advice you could give your son? What would it be about being a father and being a great father?
I think it's about being in his child's life, not just around, but being in his life. So that means attending events. That means changing diapers when you don't feel like changing diapers. It's like, nah, I'm not changing those diapers. My wife got to a point where she would get sick, so I got the poop diaper. My wife would change all of the urine, and I get the poop. But it's that bonding and that spending time with them that's critical, that you're not going to really even see the value of it till later on. You're not going to see till you see how our relationship is with my kids and the things that we do together and the time we spend together. So I would tell them that being in their life, not just around, but being in their life and doing the important things with them and for them, that's going to make the difference. A father to me is a man that, and real clear on man, because man and masculinity, we have a way of thinking that is different from a female and a woman. So a father's thought process and what he says to the child and how he says it is important because it brings a certain perspective, a male masculine perspective to that child that they can't get from their wife, they can't get from their mother, they can't get from their sister or anyone else. So that, man, I'm bringing a perspective to you. Now you have that on your own to evaluate and see how you want to interpret it and change it, but you need a father. A father needs to be there for you to give you his perspective on things, to do things for you, to do things with you that the mom just won't do or can't do.
Question we like everybody: your favorite TV father and why?
I would have to say, I didn't really see one TV dad that kind of stood out above. So I would like to do a combination of some of this new modern thing, Cosby and Sanford and Son dad and Good Times dad. All of those dads kind of meld together. They had pieces. There was no one dad that I thought, oh yeah, this is the great dad for me. But this is a great dad in terms of a TV role model type dad. But those dads kind of meld in terms of they were there with their children and they fustled and bustled and did their things in different ways. And sometimes they imparted wisdom and sometimes they showed them things like the Sanford and Son thing. This was a businessman. They called him the big dummy, he was a businessman. He showed him, look, I'm independent. I'm doing my thing, and so he was modeling that after his son. So his son, it was Sanford and Son. So he included his son in that, and so I think that's really important. As fathers, we need to include and give our children an opportunity to be a part of a legacy. So.
Last thing, the term Father's Day 365. What did that mean to you?
For me, that means father every day, all day. Like, I like this new commercial they got on now where the dad sticks his head in the commercial. Look, I'm going to have to call out today. No, as a dad, you can't call out. Don't care how sick you are, how bad you feel, how mad you feel, how sad you feel, how drunk you get, no matter what. You're a dad 365 for the good and the bad. For the in-between, there's no hiding. You're dad every day. You're dad on Mother's Day. You're dad on Valentine's Day. You're still dad. Even though you're treating your wife right and you're doing things for your wife, you still are dad. So you're dad 365 days a year, and it does not matter. Some days they're going to love you for being dad. Some days they're going to hate you. And you got to take that. You got to know that's all part of the package. You can't be thin-skinned and get hurt because some days, I hate dad, or dad gets on my nerves. Well, dad's going to be there sometime. If I'm not that, I'm doing something wrong. If you love me every day, I'm doing something wrong. Because I need to be in your world. I'm not your friend. There's some days I'm going to draw a line that you're not going to like, and I got to not have a problem with it.
It is.
My name is David Jones, and I'd like to give a message out to my children that I love them. I'm proud of them. I'm glad of everything that they're going through, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm impressed with the fact that they become who they have, and I don't take all the credit. I of course, give credit to God and to their mother for really helping to round out the parts that I missed.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space with the air, like I don't care, baby. By the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Yeah. Well, give me all you got, don't hold it back. Yeah. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. happens to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go! Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go! Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness